And I believe we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Alex here on another beautiful Thursday night. All right. Camera looks good over here. I seem to be recording. The microphone is plugged in. As always, I wouldn't mind a little chat in the chat box if you can hear me, which would be lovely. And let's see. All right. I think all systems are go. I'll just wait until I see a chat from somebody that you can hear me. You should be able to. I've got my new spiffy microphone, which should be loud and clear. And then we will get rolling with tonight's curriculum. I'm hoping that audio and video are good. Excellent, excellent. They're going to be even better when the final thing is edited up. I'm having some trouble with my editor. I might be on the hunt for a new editor if anybody wants me to shoot an email about that. All right, let's get rolling with today's rolling and begin. And okay, here we go. Well, hello, it's Alex again, and we are here for the next session of sexual communication. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get your partner to open up. Last session was about how to talk about difficult things with your partner, how to bring stuff up that you want to talk about, like sex you want, changes in the relationship you want, or telling somebody you're in love with them, and all these things that are kind of difficult to cross that barrier. But there's this whole other person who also needs to be communicated here. And that other person, your partner, is sometimes holding things back and reserved. And this was like a really big issue for a lot of my readers who answered the initial survey regarding this topic was, there are certain things that you wish your partner would open up to you about. And it's not always that easy to control the other person and getting them to open up and talk about some of these difficult things. And typically these things are like around sex, trying to find out what they really want, if they're actually satisfied, or they're just, saying, oh yeah, of course, of course I'm satisfied, but, secretly they might be holding something back. This feeling sometimes that you have in a relationship that somebody's not telling you everything that you wish they were telling you, that they're holding something back, something emotional, or, you've put yourself out there and you've made some request, and you've kind of talked about your thing, and for whatever reason, you can tell that they're not forthcoming on their thing, that they're hiding stuff from you, which feels like a gigantic break in intimacy, and it can be painful, complicated. So getting them to open up is really at least as important as being able to open up about the things that you want to open up about. And a quick note to single people, which is that this particular section, I'm going to be really talking a lot about people in relationship, because that's where it's hard. It's much easier, really easier, when you're single or when you first start dating. And it may seem like it's harder. I mean, I don't even know them. How do I ask a woman if she, is interested in anal sex? Or how do I ask a man if he's interested in having kids someday, without coming across as crazy, and making that leap? Well, we don't even know each other. And the truth is, it's easier because they don't know you, and they don't know how reserved you are, and they don't know how difficult it is for you to talk about these things. And if you're just comfortable and cool bringing this stuff up early in the relationship, one, they just figure that you're that cool, and they're going to want to match your coolness, and they're going to respect that openness. So if you get this stuff right in the beginning, it's enormously attractive in terms of going from that initial conversation. And by the way, if you, within the first 20 minutes of talking to somebody, start asking them about really intimate things, it can be very off-putting, but sometimes it's just that exact sizzle in the conversation. It's that surprising piece that creates attraction, that says, wow, this person is bold. This woman's bold. This man is bold. So, and there's something about that is enormously appealing if it's done right. And if it's done wrong, of course, you look like a hose bag, and you look like somebody who's, oversharing too early and over asking too early. So getting this stuff right when you're single is a big deal. And it's a bigger deal if it works out. Now, on any given, you're flirting with somebody in a bar, in any given first date set up by friends, in any like first situation like that, the odds of you guys living happily ever after are very small, right? It's just a test, right? You don't know if this person's going to be interesting to you. Maybe it progresses a little bit. Maybe it becomes a minor relationship. But this person also could end up, you're a co-parent with you. So it's a big deal to get it right in the beginning, because if you can get this stuff right in the beginning, the odds of success and the odds of you not having to cross these hurdles later in the relationship are incredibly enhanced. So if you're relationship minded, then knowing this stuff is key. But even if you're just looking at becoming a really attractive, well-grounded person that somebody else can share their stuff with, this is going to make your romantic and sexual relationships way more fun. Now, if you're in a relationship and this was the reason you purchased the course, there's a percentage of people who purchase this course because of this part. Like, I can't get my husband to tell me what he wants. I can't get my wife to tell me why she's been distant lately. So, there's like a lot of people that was their main thing. So if that's you and you purchased this course, you came straight to this section, good news and bad news. The bad news is everything that we've covered so far is a prerequisite to understand this part. And you're going to have to go back and watch all of it. You really need to go through the entire program to get to this part. The good news is, if this is really your major issue, go ahead and go through this stuff first, and then go through those first 3 units. And then because you'll have seen this first, it'll train your brain to look for the pieces that are going to fit in to what we're talking about today. And I think you'll get more out of those earlier pieces having watched this first and knowing what you're looking for. So that's my warning to the people who just really showed up for this section. Like I said, this could be trying to find out something about sex, something about their past that they're reticent to talk about, some emotional stuff within the relationship. Like sometimes when you say to somebody, hey, where do you think we should be going with this relationship? They say, well, what do you think? They keep kicking it back to you. And you feel like, well, I just told you what I want. I want a more serious relationship. I want an open relationship. I want a whatever. And they keep kicking it back to you. It's really hard for them to come forth with what they're trying to say. So that's what this is going to be about. But a warning here, and again, if you haven't previously watched or kind of gone through the earlier sessions, then the session on neediness is really, really key to understanding what I'm about to say, which is it's really important to get clear on why it's important to you that your partner tell you something. So, for example, it's pretty common for men to be very obsessive about the sexual history of a woman that they're getting involved in. And women who have dated a bit feel that like this is a gigantic warning sign. It's a very scary territory because, there's a question of why does he need to know this? And on the one hand, you feel like, well, I want to be known. I want to be seen. I want to know everything about me. He wants to know everything about me. And that sounds very genuine. It sounds very sweet. And it sounds like, you care about each other. But it also, to a woman, sounds like bullshit. And it usually is bullshit. Usually this is, a question that's driven from insecurity. It's like, how many men have you been with? So I know how I'm going to be compared. Like, what are the odds that you've been with somebody who had a bigger dick than me? And that might be a question that, a man wants to ask too. Like, have you been with a guy with a bigger dick than me? Did you like his dick better than my dick? Now, these questions are driven by insecurity and neediness. And if you haven't cleaned up your insecurity and neediness, and that's why you need to know these things, there's no point in this conversation. This conversation is a dead fucking end. It's a disaster for her. It's a disaster for you because there's no winning. And from her perspective, she's just going to get, slut shamed or whatever. And there's no right answer. There's no right answer because she doesn't want to lie and she doesn't want to tell the truth because she could trigger insecurity. You've put her into a no-win situation. So, a lot of times these things are driven by neediness. And it works in both directions. Of course, women are, asking all kinds of questions out of neediness, not out of like an authentic desire to connect. So really the prerequisite to learning this stuff is to be clear that the reason that your you're trying to ask these questions and get your partner to open up about things is to serve openness and to serve getting each other, really seeing each other for real, authentically, in service to love. And again, single person walks, just to explain the applicability of this stuff. Obviously, you understand what I'm talking about if you're a couple watching this right now. By the way, if you're a couple watching this right now, this is going to be a lot to talk about when you're done. And it's possible that the first 3 sessions actually led to some conflict, some fights where you're like, well, why aren't you giving me the sexual polarity? Like, as I mentioned, all this stuff can be weaponized. This section, I think, is going to tie a bow that's going to resolve a lot of the disagreements and friction that might have been brought up for you as a couple if you're going through this as a couple. But if you're single and you're saying, well, what is this service to getting each other and service to love? I don't just mean, the love between two people who are in love with each other, but like love on